So for the most part, it's safe to say that on every track, you just pretty much keep it real, however it comes out, and that's the way it plays out. Do you think it's that core foundation of keeping it real that has allowed Rays to be side to side with some of the greats like Chemo, Sick Jack? You know what I'm saying? Like, how does it make you feel to be in such a position?
Well, you know what? I would first and foremost, one thing that when it comes to my music, since I've been doing it, that's another reason why I started the label Realism, was because to me that's what it's all about. Like, you could write a record, but if it don't make no fucking sense, or if you're not speaking about something that should be talked about, why are you even doing the record in the first place? So I think the realism aspect of it was pretty much who I am from day one. You know what I mean? Just from the familia and how I was raised. But being able to do records, with the greats as you mentioned, it's been an honor, bro. You know what I mean? I would have never thought at my age that I would still even be doing this. You know what I mean? I'm keeping it fucking real. Like Bamboo said, old man raps. Like I'm still in the game. I still feel relevant. I still feel when this new album, Mark My Words, drops, that it's gonna be a classic. So, being able to work with cats like Rocka and and Jack and Chino XL and Chemo, it's been a blessing. You know what I mean? You even have a brother Immortal Technique doing exclusive. You know what I'm saying? Piece on my record that he's never done it for anybody else on anybody else's record. Like with him, it was dope because, granted, I've done records with some of these other cats, whereas Tech, the same shit Mumia Abu Jamal did for Immortal Technique's album, Immortal Technique did on the Chronicles of a Krazy Race on my album, which is basically spit a political message right on the record. So to me, that was real dope. But, it continues to grow. I still have other heads that I want to work with too. The book, it definitely ain't going to stop, I'm still going to continue to make music and tap some shoulders and see if people are down to work.
That's cool. Like, pretty much big props, because I was noticing, on some of the, I've listened to snippets of all the albums, well, most of the albums that were online. It almost seems like the effort that goes into every album, you're trying to make it a classic. You know what I'm saying? Like, every rapper says, oh, this one's going to be a classic after, like, their 8th one.
Right.
But it seems like just the delivery, the instrumentals, everything is just there. Like, the formula is perfect on every album. Is that what you push for? Like every album's going to be a classic?
Well, the fact that you're mentioning that, homie, I appreciate that, just you coming with that. I think I've said it earlier, I just think, really there's no formula for a masterpiece, you know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of times when, I think Quad could, or any MC could really tell you this, or even a beat maker. A lot of times, some of the records that we think are going to be the dopest ones aren't the records that people like. And some of the records that I'm like, that was a filler, that ends up being the record that everybody likes. Now, granted, there's those few records, like that record I did with Jack and Ace and Gutter Fame, that Do You record. Initially, when I heard that beat, I was like, this is going to be a fucking monster. That beat already took it to that level. Shout out to Ace on that one. But, I just think, really, once again, the whole formula, it's just being you, dog, and let the music come from the heart, speak what you think people need to hear, and I think everything else will fall into place. I think it's at those times in life where we try to be somebody we're not. People know that, you're faking the funk, they could see that shit, they could feel it, so with my music, I just want to be me on a record, and I've been lucky enough to kind of find my own lane, per se, Granted, I've been influenced by the greats, I've been influenced by a lot of MCs from, east to west, Midwest to South, there's a lot of dope, talented producers and MCs that are out there,
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was about to talk about the Do You track and how did it get put together, because that one was fire, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I'm going to give you some insight on the Do You record. A lot of people don't know this. The Do You record wasn't even my record. That was actually a Gutter Fame track. And Gutter Fame is Smokey Rob and the ringleader DJ Ace together. They had a group. And I had jumped on, did my verse, did the feature. But it was just like sitting there. Gutter Fame had dropped a mixtape and they were working on an album. and they didn't put the fucking that record on the album. And I was like, I told Ace, what are you doing with that record? He's just like, so hit up Bizarro or hit up, you know what I mean, Smoke Rob. So I hit him up, like, hey, I want to use that for my album. He's all, go ahead. So then it was just like, all right, this is a banger, you know what I mean? So, and then I hit up Jack, you know what I mean, let him hear the record, and it was kind of a, you know what I mean, a no-brainer. He wanted on the record. It was a trip because on that Chronicles album, after he heard that record, I've Been Known, which is I did a video for. It's more of a slower, mellower record. And as much as, you know what I mean, a lot of people love the Do You record, Jack told me, why didn't you put me on that record? I like that record. And it just goes to show you that, you know what I mean, even though I knew it was a banger and the track itself was a monster, you know, there's other records out there that, you know what I mean, we all have preferences, you know what I mean? And so with that album, you know, it definitely is probably one of my favorite albums, besides the International Project, you know what I mean, besides my first album really, but I think the Chronicles is one of the better albums.
I know we touched up on Realism earlier, your record label.
Uh-huh.
The artists you work, Thief Sicario, Illicit Dialect, amongst others.
Uh-huh.
I read a short little description online as, you know, as far as your artists are concerned, Thief Sicario would be one that resonates most with Krazy Race's music. They compare, you know what I'm saying? Like, his style is pretty dope, dude. Thief Sicario is on point politically, and he's a very smart dude. Is that kind of like what you look for when you sign somebody? Like, what is it that you look for when you're looking for an artist?
You know, with Thief, you know what I mean, even taking it back prior to Thief, we had Mike MC. But with Thief, Mike MC's brother Touch, who did photography, Sick Flicks, had hit me up and he's like, hey, Holmes, check this dude out. But on the same time, the artist that did the Realism logo was a cat by the name of One out of London. Dope graphic designer, you know what I'm saying? And One, he's in London, you know what I'm saying? He's like, hey, check this guy out. So when I started, you know what I mean, catching these people that, you know, I'm knowing, but I'm not knowing, you know what I mean? They're telling me to check them out, so I gave them a listen. And I think one of the first records I heard from Thief was a song called Adopted by the Streets. And it was nothing but realism. You know what I'm saying? Like, he put it all on the line, you know what I'm saying? He was talking about just, you know what I mean, just being a Southsider to living in the trap, you know what I mean, to what his moms was doing and what they were going through, like, you know what I mean, get introduced to horrors. Like, this is all true shit. This is all true stories. So I was like, wow. And then another record I heard from him next was a song called America. And metaphorically, it was just one of the, you know what I mean, hands down, probably one of the most prolific songs I've heard in a long fucking time, if not ever, because he took one topic and just rapped for 5 minutes and talked everything about America you possibly could pretty fucking much talk about. So it was, you know what I mean, it kind of added up, you know what I mean, we had already had Mike MC, we brought on Thief, and then, you know what I'm saying, we've put out Educational Felon, which was his first album, we've put out Honor Among Thieves, and we just recently put out Ninth Degree, which is him and El Especialista, and just to touch base with El Especialista. El Especialista has done production on pretty much all of Thief's albums. He did like 3-4 tracks in the International Project, so we brought him on board as an official member, you know what I mean, of the Realism camp, just because his production was so fucking ill. But him and Thief got together and did the new album called Ninth Degree. And then besides that, as of recent, you know what I mean, there was just many years, it was just pretty much, honest to God truth, it was just me and Thief as a label, you know what I mean? And then we put out The World Is Ours Volume 1, 2, and 3, which was similar to the Never Ending Battle. And with The World Is Ours, it was kind of a project where, beginning to end, I wanted you to hear something that I thought was fucking dope, that you would bump from beginning to end. And I was, you know, everybody from Psycho Round to Immortal Technique to Boot Camp Click, Hassan Salam, but they still had a predominant political vibe and a political message. So we put out those 3 compilations. We put out Queens of the Mic, which was real dope with Nejma Shea. You know what I'm saying? Definitely represented for all the ladies in hip hop. It was a double disc. Shout out to my compadre Joker, by the way. He was a big part of that. And then as of recent, you know what I mean, last year, we picked up Message. And I brought on Message from Orange County by way of Santana because his shit was real, but he had bars. Not to say that Thief didn't. Mess was one of those cats that had bars, was doing songs with Outer Space and Chino XL and Block McCloud, like, you know what I mean? Kind of an MC's MC when it came to just the fucking spitting some bars and you know what I mean? And doing that underground boom bap shit. And, you know, not to say that he can't spit a real record or like a life record, because he does those as well, but that's one of the reasons why I picked him up, because I saw across the board the kid had talent, you know what I mean? And then, you know, last but not least, on the campus, we got Illicit Dialect from the West Side, and this is kind of like that new blood, you know what I'm saying? I'm kind of seeing myself all over again with these cats, you know what I mean? They're a group, they're hungry. Disease 84 does all their production, you know, and they got the 3 MCs, you know what I mean? And they got some dope shit. We just put out their album. Let me grab that motherfucker and show it to you. This is Ninth Degree, real quick, you know what I'm saying? So you guys see that. Now Steve Sicario, El Especialista. This is Violence, Poverty, Disease 84 by Illicit Dialect. This is the Messages album, The Grim Reefer. And then this is my last album, International Project. So this is the last 4 Realism releases. This is that Hip Hop versus Rock that just dropped by Sullen Music. You know what I'm saying? And my partners from AEF Productions. This is real dope as well. So this is pretty much the new project that just dropped. But to get back to Realism, we started Realism, me and my compadre Joker, back in 2007. First release ever on the label was a DVD that was put out, kind of like a Take a Walk, a history with my music. It's actually right there. And then since then, you figure, fuck, it's been 7 years, man. You know what I mean? Time flies. I want to say we've put out 11 or 12 releases to date. So when you see me and I'm not putting out albums, you know what I'm doing in the background. You feel me? Like there's a lot of shit that goes in running a label. Shit is not easy.